A huge part of the world's chocolate begins far from candy aisles, supermarkets, and shiny factory lines. It begins in cocoa pods growing on trees in West Africa. And more than any other country, Côte d'Ivoire became the place the world learned to depend on. That is why something as ordinary as a chocolate bar is tied to rainfall, farming, roads, ports, and export systems in one country many consumers never think about. When people think about chocolate, they usually picture Switzerland, Belgium, or a famous brand on a wrapper. But chocolate starts with cocoa, and cocoa starts as a tropical crop with very specific growing needs. Recent sector sources still describe Côte d'Ivoire as the world's top cocoa producer or exporter, and multiple development institutions say the country supplies more than 40% of global cocoa production. That means a very large share of the chocolate economy begins there, long before beans are roasted, ground, or turned into bars, drinks, spreads, or desserts. What cocoa actually needs? Cocoa is not a crop that grows just anywhere. The cacao tree is native to lowland rainforests in South America, but today it is grown commercially across tropical regions, especially in West Africa. The International Cocoa Organization says cocoa trees need a hot, humid atmosphere and do especially well with shade in their early years. That matters because Côte d'Ivoire sits in a part of the world where those conditions have historically helped cocoa thrive. In simple terms, the country had the climate that this crop likes, and that gave it a natural advantage before any port, company, or export deal entered the story. How cocoa reached Côte d'Ivoire? Cocoa did not originate in Côte d'Ivoire. It was introduced to West Africa during the colonial period, and historical reporting says Côte d'Ivoire planted its first cocoa trees in the late 19th century. Academic work on cocoa in Côte d'Ivoire also shows that large-scale expansion came later than in some neighboring areas, then spread strongly during the 20th century. So the country did not become a cocoa giant overnight. It became one through a long historical process. The crop arrived, farmers adopted it, production expanded, and whole regions became tied to cocoa as a main source of income. Because the direct early historical record is not always presented the same way in every source, it is safest to say historians broadly agree that cocoa arrived in the colonial era and expanded heavily across the 20th century. Why Côte d'Ivoire pulled ahead? So why did Côte d'Ivoire end up leading the world? The answer is not just climate. It is climate plus scale, plus labor, plus land, plus export infrastructure, plus decades of economic dependence on the crop. A World Bank paper describes cocoa as the backbone of the Ivorian economy, saying it contributes around 40% of export revenue. That same paper says about 800,000 farmers make their living directly from cocoa production, most on small farms between about 1.5 and 5 hectares, and that these smallholders account for more than 80% of total production. In other words, Côte d'Ivoire did not become dominant because of giant industrial plantations alone. It became dominant because hundreds of thousands of smaller growers together created a huge production base. There is also a geography story behind this. Research on cocoa expansion in Côte d'Ivoire explains that over time the cocoa frontier moved toward the wetter southwest of the country. That shift helped production grow because farmers kept moving into areas seen as better suited to cocoa. Over many years, this created major cocoa landscapes tied to the crop, especially in the south and southwest. That pattern helped Côte d'Ivoire keep building volume until it became the world's leading supplier. What cocoa farming looks like on the ground for most viewers, cocoa farming is almost invisible. Cocoa pods grow directly from the trunk and branches of the tree. Farmers harvest ripe pods by hand, cut them open, and remove the wet beans and pulp. According to the ICCO, the beans are then fermented and dried before being bagged and delivered onward. This is a big part of why cocoa is not just a simple raw fruit picked and shipped away. It already goes through important early processing near the farm. That post-harvest handling is one reason the final flavor of chocolate starts forming long before a factory roasts anything. The fermentation step matters a lot. The ICCO explains that once beans are piled together or placed in boxes, microorganisms begin breaking down the pulp. Heat rises, chemical changes happen inside the beans, and these changes help develop the color and flavor precursors that later become recognizable chocolate taste. Then the beans are dried carefully until their moisture level is low enough for safer storage and transport. So when people say chocolate starts on the farm, that is not just a poetic line. It is literally true. Some of chocolate's future flavor is already being shaped before the beans ever leave the producing country. How the beans leave the country after harvest, fermentation, and drying, cocoa enters the export chain. That means transport, storage, buying networks, and ports. A 2025 USDA cocoa sector overview said that from the beginning of the season through January 2025, Ivorian farmers had moved hundreds of thousands of metric tons of cocoa beans to the main export ports of Abidjan and San Pedro. That tells you something important: this is not a tiny niche trade. It is a huge physical flow of agricultural goods moving from farms to major coastal gateways. San Pedro matters especially because it is repeatedly described as a leading cocoa export hub. Proforest says San Pedro hosts the world's leading cocoa export port, while the Port Autonome de San Pedro itself describes the port as the world's #1 export port for cocoa. That helps explain why Côte d'Ivoire's lead is not just about growing beans. It is also about being able to move them out at scale. Farms alone do not create global dominance. Farms plus roads plus buying stations plus warehousing plus ports do. How cocoa turns into the chocolate people buy once beans leave the farm side of the chain, they can go in different directions. Some are exported as beans. Some are processed further into semi-finished products like cocoa liquor, butter, and powder. The ICCO noted in 2023 that Côte d'Ivoire was processing over 30% of its cocoa beans and that added factory capacity in San Pedro helped raise domestic grindings. That means Côte d'Ivoire is not only a place that grows cocoa. It has also been trying to capture more value by processing more of it before export. Still, a large part of the final branded chocolate business remains concentrated elsewhere, where manufacturers roast, blend, formulate, mold, package, and market products for consumers. This is why chocolate can feel local in one country but begin somewhere very far away. A bar may be designed in Europe, sold in North America, or branded globally, but a big share of its core ingredient may have begun on small farms in Côte d'Ivoire. That distance between origin and final product is one of the main reasons cocoa is such a useful topic for an everyday info-style video. It connects something ordinary on a shelf to farming systems, geography, and global trade in a very clear way. Why the world depends on this one country Côte d'Ivoire's lead matters because concentration creates dependence. When so much cocoa comes from one country, problems there do not stay local. They travel through the global food system. Recent cocoa reports show how sensitive the market can be. ECO's February 2026 bulletin said world production estimates for 2024-25 had already been revised, and it explicitly warned that the numbers could still be revised again. A USDA 2025 report also described how poor weather and crop conditions had sharply reduced the prior season and continued to affect expectations. So if weather, disease, or logistics hit Côte d'Ivoire hard, chocolate makers and consumers around the world feel it later through supply pressure and price changes. That is the practical reason this topic matters. It is not only about cocoa rankings. It is about how an everyday product becomes vulnerable when so much of its starting material comes from one place. It is the same basic supply chain lesson people notice in electronics, grain, oil, or shipping. Concentration can be efficient, but it also creates risk. The harder side of the story. There is also a more difficult part of this story. Cocoa's success in Côte d'Ivoire has come with major sustainability challenges. Development and research sources describe persistent problems linked to farmer poverty, environmental pressure, and the long-term resilience of cocoa landscapes. FAO highlights Côte d'Ivoire's push for a more sustainable cocoa strategy, while academic work and climate reporting point to deforestation and climate stress as major issues in cocoa regions. The World Bank paper also notes that many smallholder farmers remain vulnerable to climate shocks, declining soil fertility, old orchards, and disease. So the story is not just, Côte d'Ivoire grows lots of cocoa. It is also, the world depends on this crop. But the system still faces serious strain. That is important for viewer trust. Because a good educational video should not romanticize a supply chain just because it delivers familiar products. Chocolate begins with real farming communities, and those communities are dealing with weather risk, price pressure, aging trees, and sustainability demands at the same time the rest of the world expects steady cocoa supply. Why Côte d'Ivoire still leads even with all those challenges? Côte d'Ivoire remains the leader because the system is already huge. It has the right broad climate, long experience with the crop, a massive smallholder production base, established trade networks, and export ports built around moving cocoa to the world. Once a country reaches that scale, it becomes hard for others to replace quickly. New competitors can grow, and processing can spread, but replacing the depth of Côte d'Ivoire's cocoa ecosystem is much harder than planting a few more trees somewhere else. So the reason Côte d'Ivoire leads cocoa is not one magic answer. It is the combination of tropical growing conditions, a long expansion of cocoa farming, a huge network of small growers, and export infrastructure that can move beans from farms to ports to factories around the world. That is why one of the most familiar treats on earth begins in a place many consumers never see. Chocolate may feel like a finished product from a store shelf, but its real story starts in cocoa landscapes, fermentation piles, drying mats, trucks, warehouses, and ports on the West African coast. And once you see that, a chocolate bar stops looking simple. It starts looking like a global supply chain in your hand.